Thank you guys for tuning in. This is going to be our second M.A.D.E in Richmond podcast show. Now, I just want to thank you guys. We did very, very well on our first show. We got a bunch of subscribers, a bunch of views. Now, I just want to keep that up, and we're just going to do as much as we can. Now, it's your turn to do as much as you can to support our podcast. Thank you. Now, with any further ado, I want to present to you my principal here at Meadowbrook High School, and yours if you go to Meadowbrook, of course.
Dr. Terry, how are you? Thank you for having me. I was like, which camera?
Yeah.
I need to look here. Got you covered. Thank you guys so much for having me be a part of your podcast. I think this is an awesome idea. I think it's super dope. I think we're going to really help to propel things forward as a school through this avenue. So thanks for creating this, and thanks for having me.
No, thank you for having me.
Yeah.
It took a lot. Now, I just want to start. I want to jump into it. So let me get a little background on you and how you grew up and where exactly are you from?
Okay, so I'm originally from Brunswick County, Virginia, which is like about an hour, 30 minutes south of here. It's a very rural community, agricultural based. So growing up, I kind of had two different experiences. My grandparents are tobacco farmers in the area, so I had that experience. My parents were divorced, so on the weekends when I was with my dad, I was living the farm life, and during the week I lived with my mom in an apartment, in an apartment complex that probably would be considered Section 8 housing. And so, for me, I tell people all the time, I've been blessed to have a variety of experiences growing up, experiencing some degree of challenge, some degree of poverty, but also some degree of affluence as well. So I think that experience has allowed me to be well-rounded and also be able to move in different circles with ease.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about like your school life. Like, how exactly did you do in school?
Okay, so are we starting like elementary school?
Yeah.
So I've always been a bookworm, what you would call a nerd, if you will. And as an African American female growing up, there were times where other kids would call me an Oreo, or you sound white, you think you're white. So I've dealt with that for a very long time. In middle school, I became a cheerleader, and that kind of took my popularity up a little bit. So again, always experiencing kind of both ends of the spectrum, being a part of kind of this minority educational circle where there may only be a few minorities in these, high-level AP dual enrollment courses, but then also being an athlete and in the band, a lot of people knew me. So again, being able to move in a variety of circles has always worked to my benefit. So that was me pretty much all through elementary and high school, being involved in a lot of clubs and organizations. My mom and my father were very much like, we want you to stay busy, because if you're busy, you don't have time to do other things.
Yeah.
So that was, middle school and high school. But having those experiences definitely prepared me for college. And so I attended Hampton University for my undergraduate degree, go Pirates, which was by far like the best 4 years of my life. I love Hampton. I love the HBCU experience. I made, my lifetime friends there, a lot of networking opportunities there. And it really helped me to grow into, the woman that I am today, being comfortable in my knowledge base and who I am, but then also acknowledging my culture, but then also understanding that as an African-American woman that I will always be the minority.
Yeah.
And learning how to, how to maneuver those waters again, being able to move in different circles. And so from there, getting my bachelor's degree in chemistry, I went to Georgia Tech initially to pursue my PhD in biochemistry. Love science, but it wasn't really my passion. And so from there, I started teaching chemistry right outside of Atlanta, Georgia, in Decatur at a small high school, Title I high school, meaning you have 80% or more of the students there receiving free or reduced lunch. So a lot of those students experience poverty, majority African American. And so that's why I really fell in love with education. My grandmother was a teacher in a one-room schoolhouse prior to integration, and then once schools integrated in Virginia, she continued to teach. My mother taught for a while. I have cousins and aunts and other family members that are educators. And so I realized I was kind of having this full circle moment because when my grandmother was teaching in the schoolhouse, the black students at the time were walking to school. And so my grandfather and his brothers pitched in and bought a school bus, and they took turns driving the students to school. So the importance of education has always been instilled in me, and it's always kind of come second nature, but to really live that out and pass that on to other students that I've had over the years, whether as a teacher or as an administrator, has been an amazing experience. And so when I started teaching, I got involved right away. So when I taught in Atlanta, I was a cheerleading coach, I was a fashion show coordinator, pep rally coordinator. I was coordinating everything.
It was good.
But it was a good experience, and I had a great time working with my students there, and I kind of carried that forward when I moved back to Virginia and started teaching at Monacan High School. Yep. And so then moving into administration, I received my doctorate from Virginia State University, going back to the HBCU experience. And so here I am today, first year's principal at M.A.D.E. So go Monarchs.
So what made you decide that you wanted to be a principal over still teaching chemistry, which I'm assuming you love very much?
I love getting into the classroom. I was in the classroom last week teaching for Ms. Delegan. I think realizing the scope of my influence and having those experiences as a cheerleading coach, as step team sponsor at Monacan, and putting together, we did the fashion show for 2 years in Atlanta, and being able to bring in kind of all of those community members. It was cool. The second year we did the fashion show in Atlanta, Roscoe Dash actually closed the show, and he had just started to pop, and the kids were so excited. And so I think after that he really blew up. So to really see the kids have an opportunity to experience something that was on the edge of becoming something big, whether it was in the classroom or outside the classroom, was just an awesome experience for me. And so it kind of became this thing of, okay, if I can create this experience for 30 kids for 90 minutes a block, what could I do for a whole school? That would be awesome. And so I just saw it as an opportunity to just expand my influence. I think that's what it's all about as an administrator. You move from the classroom where you're impacting the lives of a few students every year to being an administrator where you're influencing the lives of, in our case, close to 2,000 kids every year. So that's what it was all about for me, just expanding my span of influence.
That actually follows up to my next question.
Yeah.
Is what other leadership roles do you want to take on other than being Meadowbrook's principal?
Wow. Well, as of right now, that's all that I want to do. And I don't say that because that's the right answer.
Yeah.
I say that because that's truly where my heart is right now. I think that our students here deserve the opportunity to really shine, for people to really see our students for who they are and not for who they think they are, because that's not always an accurate depiction. And so I can't think about anything else right now until I feel like we're moving in the right direction as a school, and change takes time. They say it takes 3 to 5 years to really see the impact of changes that you're making. And I really want to get to a place where, I can, for lack of a better phrase, sleep at night, because sometimes I don't sleep because I'm thinking about what needs to be done here and how I want to change things and make things better. So once I get to that place, then I can think about that. I think, if I wanted to step outside of that briefly, I think about the opportunity to share our story with other schools that may be experiencing the same thing, and helping them to move things forward. Because I think a lot of people have a lot of great ideas, but there's a difference between theory and practice, right? You can think that something is going to work, but until you've implemented it and seen it through, you really don't know. So I think, once we, become that pillar of excellence as a school that I know we can be, I'm open to sharing that experience with other schools that are trying to get to that place from a place of practice as well as theory.
So on the topic of change, what are something, or what is your goal or your mission to tarnish the old name that I don't think that
Yeah.
is accurate.
Yeah.
At least now.
Of course.
With Meadowbrook. What's your goal?
I think it's all about rebranding, and
Yeah.
that's something you guys talk about in the M.A.D.E program, right? It's your brand. So I think it starts on the individual level and helping students understand that they are a walking representation of themselves. They are a walking brand of themselves. So what is it that you're putting out? Like, what do people see when they see you, and is that how you want to be seen? I think it's about also exposure and giving students more opportunities to serve in leadership roles, whether it's amongst their peers or whether it's an officer position in a club or something of that nature. So I think that's important. So we've revamped our freshman mentorship program this year. We're taking in more students than we have before. We're looking for at least 150 applicants this year to that program. We want to train them extensively in leadership practices and really grow them as leaders. I've taken on the student council. They're now my principals, advisory council. And so I think it's all about exposure, because you don't know what you don't know. And I think we have students who unfortunately sometimes maybe use their natural leadership skills, not always for good, but I think if you give them the opportunity to flip it, then you never know, what they can achieve or what they can do. We think about who we consider to be our role models. Now you look at your Jay-Z's or people like that who, maybe, started off, not making the best decisions in life, but how they've, essentially applied those same principles to, more positive things, and, they're billionaires now.
Yeah.
So I think it's ultimately all about exposure and having those exposure points to help students kind of turn things around.
So from like this point to whenever you end up leaving, because I hope you do a lot more things. No time soon.
No time soon. I'm good.
But whenever you do leave, what is like something that you want people to remember you, and what mark would you have liked to make on Meadowbrook?
I think it's just that I want people to refer to Meadowbrook as Meadowbrook.
Okay.
Not as, I'm not even going to give it any energy.
Yeah.
But for them to really respect us as a school for our academics, for our community service, for our leadership. I want my students to be able to go out to the community and walk with their heads held high. I want people to interact with them because they are Meadowbrook students, as opposed to the opposite, where people choose not to interact with them because they are Meadowbrook students. So I think it's all about instilling pride in our students, instilling pride back in the community about who we are as a school. Because I think changing Meadowbrook it's more about changing the community. Because I think when a school has community support, it can go anywhere. So we realize the scope of our work and what has to be done. It will get done, and I'm just excited to see where things go.
So am I.
Awesome.
Well, I want to thank you for having you
on
our second M.A.D.E in Richmond podcast.
Of course.
And I want to thank you guys, and you guys know the drill. You guys know, subscribe, like, and click that bell for more content. Now, I want to do something very, very special. Now, I hope all you Meadowbrook students know this. This is like the must, like the to know. Okay. Oh, wait, cut it. All right. Do you know what is it? The anthem. What is it? Blue, gold, something.
Oh, you talking about like the football on the football team?
No, it's like the Meadowbrook saying.
Oh,
No, it's like we bleed blue, gold.
Yeah, I don't know too much, but I know I said it one time, but then
They say it on the announcement all the time.
it was only on freshman year.
No, it's something we bleed
blue,
blue, gold monarchs.
Something like that. It was an old saying.
Let's go with the one you said.
Which is what?
Monarchs roar.
Monarchs roar.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's say it together to this camera. Okay.
This one here. Okay.
Yeah. Monarchs roar.